Throughout history, there have been countless unexplainable stories, events, and moments captured on audio. These horrifying tapes were archived, never to be heard again. Until now. These are the tapes of trepidation. Tape number 49. Weak. You lie on the gurney, weak and stale, like everything else in the hospital. The horrid stench of medicine and sick patients contaminates the air, rushing through your nostrils as you breathe, ever so slightly. Your mouth froths as you run your tongue against your pair of dry, cracked lips. Even in doing this simple task, you are unsure of your success. Your body is so numb, so weak, that you can hardly feel a thing. You can't even tell what the temperature is. Your vision, still cloudy, can only just make out a bottle of water on the table next to your gurney. You try to reach for it, but your body is much too weak. You can't even raise your arm from the bed. In your frustration, you try to call out to a doctor. Pointless. The only sound that resonates from your voice box is a quiet grumble. You don't even know how long you've been out for. Where are your family and friends? Where are the doctors? After the ordeal that put you here, you should have had at least a few people to greet you upon waking up. You can hear that sound from a room down the hall. Someone is dead. The sound of that heartbeat monitor is something you know all too well. As a matter of fact, it's the last thing you remember before waking up. You hear it again, but this time it's not from the same room. It is closer. Probably the room next to yours. But you don't know for sure. You can't help but feel a little paranoid at all this. Perhaps even a small sense of dread. Maybe that beeping will be coming from you next. Suddenly, your fears are lulled when you see a doctor approach your gurney. But the longer he stares at you, the more the sense of paranoia and dread start to build up again. As the doctor reaches toward your IV, you notice a small item in their hand. A needle. You try to move, but you are just too weak. You try to call out, but you are just too weak. The doctor inserts a needle into your IV and pumps its contents into the tube. It's air. But instead of the bubbles rising to the top of the top, they pummel down. Closer and closer to your skin as you try so hard, so desperately to pull yourself free. But you are just too weak. Eventually, the bubbles will enter your veins and pump their way into your heart, killing you instantly. You could spend these last moments wondering why this man killed you. Wonder what his motive was. What his ultimate goal was. Was it mercy? Was it evil? But that's not important. The only question you ask yourself are the ones that matter. Could this really be the end? What will happen after you die? What of your family and friends who love you dearly? What about everything you aspired for? Everything else you wanted to do before this moment came for you? How about everything you'll never do now that it has finally come? You don't have a lot of time to think before your senses fade away one last time. You feel the bubbles clench inside your heart, and absolutely everything you were and ever would have been fades into nothing. This has been tape number 49, week of the Tapes of Trepidation Horror Narration Podcast. Week was written by Anarchic Operations and was originally posted on the Creepypasta Wiki. Narration, production, and sound design for this episode was by Hodder. Credit for music for this episode can be found in the show notes. The Tapes of Trepidation theme was written by the incredible J.M. Scherf. All logos, banners, overlays, and graphic design work was provided by the talented Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts. If you have a story you would like to submit, or a question regarding the show, please contact us at tapesoftrepidation.podcast@gmail.com. Support the show by subscribing and leaving a rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcatcher, or like and subscribe on YouTube. And be sure to tell your friends. Word of mouth is extremely helpful to a podcast like this one. Check us out on social media through the link tree in the show notes. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. I know I say this a lot, but if you enjoy Tapes of Trepidation and you are not on the Discord, you're missing out. It's definitely the best way to keep up with everything going on with the show, and also just have some great community interaction. If you'd like to support the show a little more, consider joining the Tapes of Trepidation Patreon. With for as little as $5 a month, you can gain access to monthly bonus short story narrations, the weekly behind-the-scenes podcast within the archive, live readings, and more. Come, join us, and become trapped within the archive. just like my current patrons: Neil Skarupa of Neurotic Voice, Doozer Pindan, Ronan Kamori, Eric Phones, and Patrick Stewart. Thank you all so much for the support. All content used on Tapes of Trepidation is either original, used with permission, or is available on your Creative Commons share-alike license. All rights reserved, unless otherwise stated. This podcast and its content may not be redistributed or rebroadcasted without the express written consent of Tapes of Trepidation and the story's author. Thank you so much for listening.